Well, good evening. May I have your attention, please? Your Excellency, President of the Republic of Latvia, Mr. Andris Bērziņš, Honorable Secretary General, Ms. Irina Bokova, Excellencies, Ministers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Andris Bērziņš. Being a journalist myself, I am humbled by the honor to be the moderator of today's ceremony. On behalf of UNESCO and the Latvian Presidency of the Council of the European Union, let me welcome all of you to the National Library of Latvia. We call this building the Castle of Light. I am sure you will agree with me that the Castle of Light, this place, fits exceptionally well with the event that is going to be held here tonight, the award ceremony of Guillermo Cano World Press Freedom Prize. I will now give the floor to the host of this event, the President of the Republic of Latvia, Mr. Andris Bērziņš, for the opening speech. Please.
Dear Ms. Bokova, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear Ms. Darwish, dear Ms. Cano, I'm really honored to welcome you in Riga to the award ceremony of the World Press Freedom Prize, where we celebrate, where we honor its recipient. For almost 2 decades, on the 3rd of May, we have been celebrating the World Press Freedom Day. This is the moment when we can appreciate the press freedom in the whole of the world and recognize new challenges. This day allows the countries to reconfirm their commitment to the media freedom. Today, we also remember those journalists who have lost their lives while on duty. Today, we have gathered to express our gratitude and appreciation of this year's awardee, the Syrian journalist, Mr. Mazen Darwish. He continues to defend our common ideals of freedom of expression with determination, and he pays a high price of a lengthy imprisonment. The Global World Press Freedom Day conference takes place in Latvia at a place and time symbolic to our country. The National Library of Latvia, or the Castle of Light, is the repository of the wisdom and spiritual heritage of our people. Tomorrow we'll celebrate the 25th anniversary of the adoption of the Declaration of Independence of the Republic of Latvia. This was a crucial turning point in the process of restoring our independence. The movement on nonviolent resistance took the shape of peaceful rallies, demonstrations, and campaigns. And there was one integral element to this: the singing of songs. The power of songs and cultural symbols. We demonstrated our urge for the freedom that was oppressed by the censorship and oppressive regime. The singing revolution amalgamated our independence aspirations and placed them at the center of attention of the whole world. Following our restoration of independence, we experienced swift and ambitious transformation, and step by step we returned to the community of the European democracies. During these 25 years, Latvia has become an independent and a strong country. The freedom of expression, including the right to receive information freely as well as to express our opinions, has become an integral part of the foundation of our country. I'm honored to note that currently Latvia holds the presidency of the Council of the European Union. This is another proof that we have managed to achieve a lot during a comparatively short period of time. We have become a reliable partner at the European and the international level. One of our greatest accomplishments and also a huge challenge is the unrestricted flow of information in time and space. This gives new opportunities and creates new threats. Unfortunately, information is used more and more often for a deliberate manipulation of public opinion to spread misleading and partial information or even outright lies. One of the most important solutions is the improvement of the quality of mass media, practical support to investigative journalism, and the strengthening of a diverse, independent and free media environment. Also, another important factor is the ability of the society to assess and analyze the media content critically. The freedom of expression in these turbulent times is equivalent to a professional and honest journalism. It's a true media freedom and also a professional responsibility. A word can become a weapon, and also it can become a messenger of peace and harmony. A word can kill, and a word can heal. Thus, we have to remember that the freedom of expression is not an end to itself. The freedom of expression, the belief in individual opinions, and in their ability to be responsible for their words is the basis on which we will build our common future in this complicated and turbulent world. I'm really sure that the World Press Freedom Day Conference is an excellent forum for discussions on what we have achieved and also with regards to our challenges in the area of press freedom. I wish you all a dynamic and creative continuation of the discussions that you have already begun. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, for your remarks and for your kind words and good wishes to our guests tonight. Mr. President, Honorable Secretary General, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and now the speech of Ms. Ana Maria Busquets de Cano and Ms. Marisol Cano on behalf of Guillermo Cano Isaza Foundation. Unfortunately, they cannot be here today with us, and it will be my honor to deliver their remarks. And here they are. For the first time in 19 years since the establishment of the World Press Freedom Prize, it is not possible for us to be present for the award of this tribute to journalists who have evidenced their courage and sacrifice so that humanity can express their thoughts freely. It is with courage that these journalists have made a contribution aimed at defending one of the fundamental rights of humanity. They have sent, through their example, a message to the society on how essential freedom and independence are for journalism when building democratic societies. We would have liked to get to know this beautiful country, rich and diverse in terms of traditions and cultural manifestations, that on this day hosts the celebration of the World Press Freedom Day and the ceremony for the award of a prize that has such international significance and that is so dear to the Guillermo Cano Isaza Foundation. Today, as on other anniversary dates of the prize, it is not possible to enjoy the presence of the prize-winning journalist. Mazen Darwish is behind bars. This has happened to others as well. Gao Yu, Nizar Nayouf, Yu Wintin, Raul Rivero, Reyot Alemu, and Ahmad Zaidabadi. It has not been possible for Mazen Darwish to share his experiences with the people from around the world who come together on this day to reflect upon the conditions under which journalism is exercised in the world. But those who do attend and those who have come together on this day have a duty to make sure that the voices are not silenced, those voices who do the research and disclose information, and those voices who are uncomfortable for certain powers, those voices that denounce injustices, human rights violations, the actions of armed groups, organized crime and drug trafficking, acts of corruption, illegal business practices, inequalities, or attacks against the environment. The life stories of those who have received this prize is a wake-up call regarding certain values of journalism that cannot be lost and cannot fade, such as independence, responsibility, and the common good. Wherever there is violence against journalists, wherever journalists are forced to leave their profession, wherever they are exiled or harmed psychologically and emotionally, wherever pressure is put upon them, societies lose depth of public debates. Crucial topics are not being discussed. Whenever mass media diversity decreases, problems that used to be uncovered by journalists deepen. However, when so many raise their voices in order to defend the value of freedom of expression and the work undertaken by these journalists, the opposite happens, and young people around the world are motivated to become journalists. Thus, the value of the profession is reaffirmed for those journalists as well who need to garner courage in order to keep going. We express our acknowledgement to the work of Mazen Darwish, who, from the Syrian Centre for Media and Freedom of Expression, has let us know in detail what happens in his country. His voice must be freed. We express our gratitude to UNESCO for the work it carries out in defense of journalists and for the systematic work aimed at promoting safe environments for the exercise of this profession. We are grateful as well for UNESCO's fight against the culture of impunity for crimes against journalists. And these were the remarks of the representatives of Guillermo Cano Isaza Foundation. Thank you very much. Mr. President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in the history of this country, the freedom of expression is associated not only with the freedom to speak, but also with the freedom to sing. The power of traditions of choral music is reaffirmed here every 5th year when the country, all of it, comes together to watch and participate in the great Song and Dance Festival. If you have a chance, please do come along for one of these events if you would like to see tens of thousands of people forming one single choir and singing majestically in one single voice. We will give you a taste of that tonight with the performances by the youth choir Kamar. They combine youthful passion with highly refined vocal skills and sensuous musicality. Over the years, they have developed a unique repertoire. The first song we will hear tonight is from their last year's project, which was called the Amber Songs. Amber is, of course, the most precious gem to be found in Latvia, while folk songs are the gem of Latvian culture. What you will hear now is a rare Latvian folk song called Neviens putnis tā nepūta. Translates roughly as "No bird sings as sweetly." It is arranged by a British composer, Gabriel Jackson. Mr. President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the choir, Kamar, and conductor, Jānis Liepiņš.
Neviens putnis
No bird sings as sweetly. Thank you very much. Well-deserved applause to the youth choir, Kamer, and conductor, Andris Bērziņš. To those of you who are visiting with us today and your first time in Latvia, I can tell you that everyone in Latvia can sing this beautiful. Almost. Ladies and gentlemen, I have now the honor to invite on stage Ms. Ulla Koski, Vice President of the Helsinki Sanomat Foundation, which is the main supporter of the UNESCO Guillermo Cano World Press Freedom Award. Please.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, Madam Director General, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor and pleasure for me to convey the greetings of the Syrian Centre Foundation to the award ceremony of the UNESCO Guillermo Cano World Press Freedom Prize. For the third year running, the Syrian Centre Foundation is supporting the Freedom Prize. Our foundation has also pledged to support it in the next 2 coming years. The Syrian Centre Foundation was established in 2005 to promote and support high-quality journalism and freedom of expression. The Foundation carries out this task by providing grants for high-quality research and projects that are connected with media, the communications industry, and various dimensions of freedom of expression. A Finnish foundation is well suited to promoting freedom of expression because freedom of expression has long traditions in Finland. Already in 1766, the Swedish Diet approved the world's first Freedom of Information Act. The act also applied to Finland because until 1809, Finland was part of Sweden. Even more importantly, the act was the initiative of Andris Bērziņš, a Finnish member of the Diet. The act abolished censorship and ordered the documents of the Swedish estates and public authorities to be made available to the public. This allowed us to enjoy greater press freedom than any other nation in the world. Finland and other Nordic countries remain among the top-ranking nations in the world in terms of freedom of press. In the latest World Press Freedom Index from Reporters Without Borders, Finland was number 1 for the 6th successive year. Norway came 2nd, Denmark was 3rd, and Sweden came 5th. Only the Netherlands, which took 4th place, was able to break the Nordic dominance at the top of the list. For us Finns, freedom of expression is like the air that we breathe. While we take freedom of expression for granted, we are also well aware that most of the people in the world are not able to do so. Actually, according to the Freedom House's report, which was published just a few days ago, only 14% of the world's population live in countries where the press is free. That is 1 in 7 people. Therefore, it is utmost important for the Syrian Centre Foundation to support UNESCO in its valuable work to strengthen press freedom and freedom of expression. Next year, Finland will be celebrating the 215th anniversary of the world's first Freedom of the Information Act. The Syrian Centre Foundation and the Andris Bērziņš Foundation, which fosters the traditions of Andris Bērziņš, the driving force behind the Act, are responsible for organizing the events of the year. We are extremely pleased that UNESCO too is observing the year by having selected Finland to host the World Press Freedom Day conference in May 2016. I'm very much looking forward to meeting you in Helsinki next May. Thank you.
Ms. Koski, thank you very much for your remarks. I would now like to invite on stage the chair of jury of the World Press Freedom Prize of 2015, Mr. Koko Yu.
Your Excellencies, President of Latvia, Mr. Andris Bērziņš, Excellency, Director General of UNESCO, Ms. Irina Volkova, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor and privilege for me to deliver remarks at this auspicious award ceremony on behalf of the member of the jury of UNESCO, Guillermo Cano World Press Freedom Prize 2015. Having now marked its 90th anniversary, the annual UNESCO Guillermo Cano World Press Freedom Prize is designed to honor a person, organization, or institution that has made an outstanding contribution to the defense and or promotion of press freedom anywhere in the world, and especially in the face of danger. In line with these criteria, we, independent international jury of media professionals, has recommended to awarding the prize to Mr. Mazen Darwish, who is a Syrian journalist and human rights activist for his professional career, more than a decade of professional sacrifice in which he suffered incessant harassment, travel bans, arrest, and torture. He really deserved this prize. We salute him and reiterate our call to release him as well as other journalists who are being detained around the world. So far, the UNESCO prize has been awarded to a total of 80 individuals, including a laureate from my country, Myanmar, in 2001. Myanmar journalists, politicians, and also political prisoner U Win Tin was awarded the prize for his efforts to defend and promote the right to freedom of expression. At present, journalists and media institutions increasingly under attack, especially in conflict zones like Syria and Iraq. It is more important than ever to focus on the role that the media plays in the free society. Freedom cannot be sustained without a strong, independent, inquisitive, and open media environment. Media are the eyes and ears of the public. Media scout for information about the activities of governmental, business, academic, cultural, sports, local, and other leaders, and inform the public. Professional, responsible, and independent news media are fundamental to building democracy. Governments need to respond to legitimate aspiration with reform, not repressions. Encouraging an open and effective press serves to improve the environment for long-term social, political, economic stability and development. This is a proper way of the relationship between the administration and media. We recognize the essential role of free and responsible media in our democracies. When the free press could not provide the information, the citizen is left powerless, and democracy and prosperity are both at risk. We believe that freedom of speech and association and access to independent media and information help ensure genuine citizen participation in democratic politics. Let me conclude by expressing again my warmest congratulations to Mr. Mazen Darwish and by saluting those who have shaped this award over the past 80 years. And finally, I am pleased to extend my sincere gratitude to all of you for joining us at this award ceremony and for sharing it with us in a true spirit of world awareness. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kokoyu. I can only add that not without our own challenges, but a free and open media environment has been one of the cornerstones of Latvia's evolution as a free and independent, successful and democratic country over the last 25 years. But now, ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Ms. Irina Bokova, Director General of the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization.
Mr. President of the Republic of Latvia, Madam Prime Minister, Madam Speaker of Parliament, Ministers, Ms. Ula Koski, Vice President of the Helsinki Sonomat Foundation, Mr. Kokoyu, Chair of the Independent Jury of the UNESCO Guillermo Cano World Press Freedom Prize, dear members of the jury, Ms. Yara Bader, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, allow me to thank the President and the government of Latvia for their leadership in supporting UNESCO, its objectives and values. UNESCO was created 70 years ago on the idea peace had to be built in new ways, in the minds of women and men, on the basis of human rights and human dignity. Our organization was born from the conviction that taking this vision forward requires free flow of ideas by word and image. It requires every woman and man to have opportunities to speak out. We have gathered today because we all share this vision. We agreed freedom of expression is a fundamental right that underpins all other civil liberties. We agree freedom of expression is a key ingredient for tolerant societies, for the rule of law and democratic governance. We agree freedom of expression is essential for sustainable development, to catalyze innovation, to bolster accountability. We agree freedom of expression is vital for dialogue and reconciliation, for mutual understanding. I see these values embodied in this very building, the National Library of Latvia, whose construction UNESCO supported in 1999 and whose foundation stone is freedom of expression. We agree on all of these points, and this is why human rights must be the compass setting to the new global sustainable development agenda governments are shaping to follow 2015. This is especially important in times of change and turbulence. The media business is undergoing a revolution with the rise of digital networks and social media. New actors are emerging, including citizen journalists, redrawing the boundaries of journalism. And this was one of the themes of the World Press Freedom Day conference we held in Washington, D.C. in 2011. Traditional news institutions remain agenda setters, but they are deeply caught up with the digital revolution, even as radio remains a major source of information, as highlighted during World Radio Day, a UNESCO initiative taken up by the United Nations. New technologies are opening channels for new voices, including for women, and we have not seen rising gender equality in media content on decision-making to the extent we would like to see it. In the midst of all this, new threats are also rising. These take different shapes, from digital controls and blocking to physical threats. We see also the rise of media campaigns especially social media, that target young minds, seeking to lure them to extremism. At worst, we see increasing violence against journalists. We must not tire from repeating the figures. Over the last 10 years, 675 journalists have been killed. Only 1 out of 10 cases have been brought to justice. All of this is a call to action. We must respond. We must react. We must respond by supporting quality journalism, by advancing gender equality, by enhancing the safety of journalists, the issues at the heart of this year's World Press Freedom Day. As the specialized agency of the United Nations, this is UNESCO's mandate to promote freedom of expression everywhere, on all platforms. This is the importance also of the United Nations Plan of Action on the safety of journalists and the issue of impunity, coordinated by UNESCO, laid forward in Iraq, Nepal, Pakistan, and South Sudan. This is why I stand up every time a journalist is killed and call for justice. To succeed, we must be relentless and outspoken. This is why I have just appointed Christiane Amanpour, CNN Chief International Correspondent, as UNESCO Goodwill Ambassador for Freedom of Expression and Journalist Safety, just last week at headquarters at UNESCO. Today, more than ever, we need champions for freedom of expression. This is why we have gathered today to honor a person who has never relented in fighting for his freedom to speak, to publish, to be heard. Mr. Darwish is a lawyer and press freedom advocate. He is the president of the Syrian Centre for Media and Freedom of Expression, founded in 2004. He is a founder of the Voice newspaper and the independent news website SyriaView.net, and in 2011 he established Media Club, the first Syrian magazine about media affairs. All of this highlights Mr. Darwish's tireless commitment to promoting press freedom and freedom of expression. Mr. Darwish has been detained since 2012, along with his other colleagues, for his work, and unfortunately could not be with us here today. And I call the Syrian authorities for his and his colleagues' release, not least in compliance with the United Nations General Assembly resolution adopted on May 15, 2013. Despite difficulties in the most challenging circumstances, Mr. Darwish has maintained an unwavering commitment to freedom of expression as a pillar of democracy, peace, and reconciliation. We all know, and I think today's debate showed it again, quality journalism can prosper only when the media is free and independent, when journalists are safe to report without persecution, when impunity is the exception, not the norm. We need freedom of expression and press freedom to thrive. For this, we need brave journalists like Mr. Darwish. So, in this spirit, and on behalf of the international jury, to whom I express my deep gratitude for their commitment and excellent work, I am pleased today to award the 2015 UNESCO Guillermo Cano World Press Freedom Day Prize to Mr. Mazen Darwish. As you know, ladies and gentlemen, the prize is named in honor of Guillermo Cano Isasa, a Colombian journalist killed in front of the offices of his newspaper, El Espectador, in Bogotá on 17 December 1986, and generously supported by the Cano Foundation and the Helsinki Sanomat Foundation, And I know that Ms. Marisol Cano, director of the Guillermo Cano Foundation, would have wished to be with us here today, as she has been for all the previous prize ceremonies. So, in this spirit, we are very honored that Mr. Darwish's wife, director of the Syrian Centre for Media and Freedom of Expression, Ms. Yara Bader, is here with us to accept the prize on behalf of Mr. Darwish. Could I invite you to come?
Thank you. Mr. President, jury members, ladies and gentlemen, and all journalism colleagues, thank you so much. And please allow me to speak in Arabic. It's my main language. I'm very sorry Mazen couldn't send a speech from jail. I have these words in behalf of him. I hope to express the idea. في الحرية والصحافة.
About freedom and journalism. Ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you today filled with pride, but also with sorrow. Sorrow because the one who should have addressed you today isn't here. He is in a remote detention center far away from civilization. While communicating with the awarding body, I was asked if Mazen could join us via Skype or email. I was speechless. I heard about prisons in some European countries that allow prisoners to use means of communication. However, Mazen and I come from a country rising against iron curtains to build a better future. Our struggle resembles Europe's stride to enlightenment and its rejection of tyranny. Tyranny which confines human beings to claustrophobic and dark cells, leaving them with nothing but their faith to get them through. Along with pride and sadness, I also feel lost. I am only a beginner when it comes to learning about journalism and freedom. We were all born free, as Schelling said at the end of the 18th century. Freedom is the essence of humanity. Nevertheless, only those who enjoy a deep sense of morality and are aware of moral responsibility can be free in the existential sense of the word. Their struggle to gain freedom is the way to follow, and in my modest experience, I cannot imagine a meaning for the term free except the act of struggling for freedom. Mazen Darwish is one of those few with a deep sense of morality and consciousness of the ethical responsibilities of humanity first and foremost. More than 10 years ago, Mazen chose out of his own free will to give up so much and return to his country to work under the oppressive Syrian regime. Journalism is the most significant human activity operating in the face of absolute state power. It breaks the state control over knowledge and information. Therefore, Mazen, a lawyer and a human rights defender, chose to work as a journalist. The word is a basic right, and defending it is a basic duty. That was the slogan of the Syrian Centre for Media and Freedom of Expression, which Mazen established in Damascus in 2004. It aims to monitor the state of liberties in Syria and the violations against those who strive for their freedom of expression. Mazen worked for more than 12 hours a day to publish information and monitor the authorities' mechanisms to control it. As there was no free society under the oppression of the authoritarian regime, Mazen's fight for transparency was a fight for the right to information and the right of free self-expression as basic rights of citizenship and human dignity. The struggle for free media within such a context has always been an ethical struggle and not a struggle for power. In 2007, Mazen wrote that the ongoing fight for the liberation of media from state control is one of the core elements of a real and comprehensive democratic transformation in the Arab world. His detention in early 2012 was a strong message of oppression, not only targeted at Mazen, but also targeted at the civil and peaceful movement at large. But ideas cannot be detained, neither can free will. The despotic authority can only deprive people of their ability to move. It can only attempt to prevent alternatives. In the spring of 2011, Mazen wrote, "No regime, nor government or group was ever able to monopolize the truth, nor hide it, nor even conceal its multifaceted nature, not even in the days of iron curtains and singular ideologies. But today, in the age of telecommunications and social media, the authorities rely on a chaos of information strategy in order to create a thick layer of fog to cloud journalists' clear vision. Journalism is a creative process. It has its rules and firm principles. We have to do away with actors who use those principles to suppress freedom of speech. We need people who have the ability to develop an active, comprehensive system that includes free will and awareness of ethical responsibility." Mazen shouldered this responsibility, and his detention and the persistent refusal to release him is aimed at those principles, not only at his person. The targeting of prominent journalists, those who can contribute to a better and freer vision, is something tyrants have always excelled in. Amid the madness of war and in this harsh and painful journey to freedom, we fight using our moral standards, professional tools, and our free will. This is what I learned from you, Mazen. I need you, but I am fully aware that Syria needs you even more, because Syria needs ethical action and free press. On behalf of Mazen, I say, I dedicate this award to Inanna and Adad, my children. The years of my life that I have spent in the dark are for you to live in the light, without fear to dream or fear of ideas or words that you should say. For this, forgive my absence today.
Thank you, Yara. Honored to have you here. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now have another two performances by the youth choir Kamer. Let us welcome them back on stage. We will now hear two performances. These songs are from the same folk music project we mentioned earlier, the Amber Songs. The story of Amber Songs is this, that the ethnomusicologist Valdis Muktuvāvels made a colorful selection of Latvian folk songs, and 17 different composers from several countries were approached to write arrangements. This song is called Bumburianis Bumbureja. It is arranged by a Latvian composer, Pēteris Plakidis. It is difficult, really, to translate what the title means. I spent some 20 minutes yesterday trying to translate this, but I realized it doesn't make sense in Latvian, therefore it couldn't be translated into English. But the conductor tells me it is about a song about a boy that is being welcomed into the world of man. And then the following performance is called Kāvi. This one is easy to translate, thankfully. The Northern Lights. It is arranged by a Latvian composer, Eriks Eschenvalds. It is based on a folk song, and it is supplemented with text from diary records of the first polar explorers who witnessed the miraculous Northern Lights. Ladies and gentlemen, Kamēr and conductor Jānis Liepiņš. This exceptional performance by Kamar and conductor Andris Bērziņš concludes this year's award ceremony of Guillermo Cano World Press Freedom Prize. On behalf of my colleagues journalists and on behalf of many others in this country who care passionately for the right of freedom of expression, let me tell you that we were truly honored to have the opportunity to host today's ceremony. Yara, give our best to Mazen. Our thanks to hosts, President of the Republic of Latvia, Director General of UNESCO, and the organizers. Thank you very much. Let the music we enjoyed, but even more the stories of daring, of dedication and decency we heard today serve as an inspiration to all of us. On behalf of the President, I would now like to invite you to the reception. It is going to be held in the Railroad Museum, which is right next door, not a long walk. Across the street, as you will exit the library, you will have River Daugava on your right-hand side, but please turn to the left-hand side. And there, approximately 150 meters down the street, there is the Railway Museum. I'll meet you there. And please bring your invitations with you, okay? Thank you very much.